The football world may have made a huge mistake with Japan. After their 2-2 draw against the Netherlands, most people saw a disciplined team, a difficult opponent, and another respectable World Cup performance. Few were talking about Japan as a serious threat to the tournament. Then, Tunisia happened. 4 goals, a record-breaking 4-0 victory, the biggest World Cup win in Japanese history, the first AFC nation ever to score 4 goals in a World Cup match. But that's only part of the story, because Japan did all of this without Takefusa Kubo, without Kaoru Mitoma, without captain Wataru Endo, and somehow they looked stronger than ever. Ayase Ueda scored twice and made history. Daichi Kamada scored Japan's fastest World Cup goal ever after just 4 minutes. Junior Ito added another. Tunisia managed only 2 shots all night and never registered a single effort on target, while Japan controlled the game with 592 passes, relentless movement, and complete tactical authority. And that raises a much bigger question. What if this isn't a surprise at all? What if the draw against the Netherlands was actually a warning? What if Hajime Moriyasu has quietly built the deepest squad Japan has ever taken to a World Cup? What if Japan have finally found the reliable goal scorer they have been searching for decades? And what if a team that has spent years shocking football's giants has finally evolved into something even more dangerous? Because once you look beyond the records, the goals, and the historic night in Monterrey, a far bigger story begins to emerge. This is why the world ignored Japan and why it might already be too late. Japan didn't just beat Tunisia, they changed how this World Cup has to look at them. This was supposed to be a tough, physical, emotionally loaded group match. Tunisia were fighting for survival after the 5-1 hammering by Sweden. Japan were coming in off a 2-2 draw against the Netherlands, a result people respected but still filed under brave underdog rather than serious contender. The general assumption was simple: Japan could compete, could frustrate teams, could maybe sneak through the group. Then the 1000th match in World Cup history kicked off in Monterrey, and Japan used one of the most symbolic nights in the tournament's history to produce the biggest World Cup win their country has ever seen. 4 minutes in, the game was already tilting. Nakamura received on the left. The move developed at a speed Tunisia's shape simply couldn't handle. The cross came in low and early before they could reset, and Kamada arrived exactly where an intelligent attacking midfielder is supposed to arrive, in the blind spot between defenders, 1 touch from close range. Japan ahead. That goal was also Japan's fastest ever at a World Cup, beating Shinji Kagawa's 6th-minute penalty against Colombia back in 2018. More importantly, it told Tunisia the worst possible thing. Japan weren't spending the night sitting back, reacting, or surviving. They were going to attack spaces before Tunisia could even figure out where the danger was coming from. From there, Japan just ran the match. 592 passes, 528 completed, 52% possession, 11 attempts, 5 on target, all 4 goals from inside the penalty area. Tunisia managed 2 shots and none on target. That's not just a scoreline, that's complete control of territory, rhythm, and decision-making. The second goal made it even clearer. Ueda had been pulling Tunisia's centre-backs out of position all night with his movement. 31st minute, received from Ko Itakura, set himself, drove a low finish across goal. Direct, clean, ruthless. 2-0 at half-time, and Tunisia already looked like a team that had run out of ideas. Renard made changes at the break, but the problem wasn't personnel, it was the pattern. Japan's rotations were impossible to track. Kamada drifting inside forced a defender to follow. Nakamura and Ito holding width pinned the fullbacks. Ueda dropping short let Japan play through him. Ueda running beyond forced centre-backs to turn and chase. Every single movement created a new problem somewhere else on the pitch. Third goal felt inevitable. 69th minute, Ueda turned provider,
Ito broke into space with that sharp vertical movement he's been doing for Japan for years, finished clinically 3-0. Then the fourth. 83rd minute, Ueda rose for a looping header, sent it over the Tunisian defence and into the net. That made him the first Japanese player ever to score twice in a World Cup match, and sealed something even bigger: Japan's first ever 4-goal haul in a single World Cup game, and the first AFC nation to ever score 4 in one match. And here's what makes all of that significant beyond the record books. Japan have produced famous World Cup moments before, shocked Germany and Spain in Qatar, pushed Belgium to the limit in 2018, beat Denmark in 2010, long been respected as disciplined, technical and dangerous on their best day.
But this was different in kind. This wasn't a giant killing built on hanging in and taking chances. This wasn't Japan surviving waves of pressure and nicking a result. This was a controlled demolition. Scored early, managed the tempo, protected the centre, forced turnovers, used the width, controlled every transition, and punished a desperate opponent without ever needing the match to get frantic. Which makes the Netherlands draw look even more important in hindsight. Japan fell behind twice against one of Europe's strongest teams, Van Dijk scoring early in the second half, Somerville restoring the lead after Nakamura's equaliser, and Japan still refused to go away. Kamada scored late, 2-2, and the clue was already right there. Not just the quality, the refusal to fold. 2 matches in, 6 goals scored, 2 conceded, 4 points unbeaten. And the resume now reads, held the Netherlands, demolished Tunisia. For years, Japan were labelled the team nobody wanted to face, a disciplined underdog, a dangerous outsider, capable of one big night. That label might no longer cover it. Under Moriyasu, this team has absorbed painful lessons across multiple World Cups, learned what it means to lead and lose, to shock a giant and still fall short, to play good football and still go home. And now they look more mature, more clinical, and more complete than any previous version. That's the real difference between a team that creates surprises and a team that creates consistency. Against the Netherlands, Japan showed resilience. Against Tunisia, they showed authority. When a team can do both in the same tournament, the conversation has to change. The question coming out of Monterrey isn't how Japan beat Tunisia 4-0, it's how they made a historic World Cup performance look that controlled, that repeatable, and that frighteningly normal. Because if this is no longer their ceiling, but the beginning of their standard, then the rest of the world may have already noticed them too late.
Ueda didn't just score twice against Tunisia, he gave Japan something good tournament teams genuinely need: a striker who turns control into punishment. Japan have never struggled to produce technical players, but at World Cup level, where games get decided by tiny windows and half chances, they've consistently needed more from the number 9 position. Against Tunisia, Ueda delivered. 31st minute, waited for Itakara's pass, created separation, drove it low across goal. No extra touch, no hesitation, just position, balance, finish. At 1-0, Tunisia could still chase. At 2-0, they had to open up, which played straight into Japan's hands. Second half, he went beyond goals, assisting Ito's third in the 69th. Then, the 83rd, Sano delivered, Ueda rose above the defence and guided a looping header home. First Japanese player ever to score twice in a World Cup match. Helped Japan become the first AFC nation to score 4 goals in a single World Cup game. 5 attempts, 2 goals, 1 assist. Complete centre-forward performance. Now here's the part that should genuinely concern everyone. This wasn't even Japan's full strength. Kubo out with a knee injury, Mitoma not in the squad, Endo absent, Minamino missing. Japan still produced their biggest World Cup win in history. Kamada stepped up and scored after 4 minutes. Ito gave them directness and a goal. Nakamura created the opener. Itakara finished as Japan's highest passer and assisted Ueda's first. Tanaka controlled midfield. Sano added the assist for the second.
Not a team surviving without their stars, a team absorbing their absence without breaking stride. Most nations lose two key players and the shape collapses. Japan lost creative stars and midfield leadership, and the system kept working. Pressing sharp, ball movement quick, rotations creating space. That depth is what nobody's properly talking about. Moriyasu said after the match, they didn't focus on what Tunisia might do, they focused on what they wanted to do. That sentence explains everything. Not passive, not reactive, just a clear plan executed with real discipline. If Japan now have a centre-forward who can score, link play, press, and head in an 83rd minute winner, while all that technical quality rotates around him, their ceiling changes completely. Because if they win 4-0 without Kubo, Mitoma, and Endo, what happens when this team is actually whole? That's not a warning anymore, that's a problem.
Japan aren't building a nice story anymore. They're building momentum, and those are very different things. 4 points, 6 goals, 2 conceded, level at the top of Group F with the Netherlands. 2 completely different performances in 2 matches. That combination is exactly what makes a team genuinely dangerous at a World Cup. The Tunisia numbers tell the full picture. 528 of 592 passes completed, 25 turnovers forced. Tunisia held to 2 shots with 0 on target. That wasn't an open game that ended 4-0, that was controlled demolition. Japan have always been the team nobody wanted to face. Disciplined, technical, capable of one big night. But after Monterrey, that label doesn't quite cover it anymore. They've shown resilience and authority in the same tournament, while missing major players, without the system ever wobbling. Serious teams don't wait for perfect conditions, they adapt and keep advancing. So the question has genuinely changed now. Japan used to be football's favourite underdog. After this, are they something more?